Allow me to reintroduce myself. Now tuned into the greatest.
What's up, people, and welcome to another episode of the Supreme Decisions Legal Minute Podcast. And this is your host, Supreme Decisions. And I want to talk to you today because today is actually a pretty special day for me, because today the Supreme Decisions Legal Minute Podcast is being featured on one of the major podcast distribution networks. So this is the first feature, but I was thinking about doing a couple of things. And one of those things was kind of changing up a little bit what I normally do. But I decided today, that's not what we're going to do. We're actually going to give you the me. We're going to give you what you're normally used to. I'm not going to water it down. I'm not going to mainstream it. I have to give you what it is that I've been giving you. Because, one episode is, but today it's going to sound like one of the episodes of the best of. But no, honestly, what we're going to get into today is something that I actually found interesting and kind of sort of along the lines of a video that I just did with, I believe his name was Daniel Ross. He's with the Dallas Cowboys, and he was arrested. And I did a video breakdown. Not necessarily that the arrest itself was illegal or anything that the police officer did in the video was illegal, but I did a breakdown that consisted of the things that was said and the interpretations that was gathered from what the police officer did in the video. So I'm going to say this one more time. The video that I did break down with the Daniel Ross arrest, not saying that the police officer did anything wrong. I'm also just pointing out things that were said and the inferences that was done throughout the stop. So kind of pay attention to the verbiage, because that's one of the things I talk about. Words have power, but I need you to be able to listen. That's why you were given 2 ears and 1 mouth, because you should listen twice as much as you speak. And you shouldn't just listen to wait for a response. You should actually listen to understand the substance that's being given to you. Now, like I said, today we're actually going to do one that I was thinking about, and it's Collins v. Virginia. And it deals with the automobile exceptions that do not permit warrantless entry of a home or its curtilage in order to search a vehicle therein. Now, just to give you a little context on that. There was a traffic incident in which one involved a person that may or may not have fled the scene. Well, the person made it all the way to the home. At least they were thought they made it all the way to the home, where the police officer got a tip that that's where the vehicle or second vehicle was. And not only did he enter the property without a warrant, he also lifted up a tarp, saw under it, took pictures of it without permission or consent. And again, it's understanding the right to be secure in one's person and property. And Collins v. Virginia goes into the absolute facts of the definition of property. Because if you remember a while back, I did a cell phone video, and it spoke about going into one's cell phone. Because again, that falls under property, because there's a lot of information that's given or even taken from cell phones at these days. And, from your location to your heart rate. So there's a lot of information that can be gathered from it. But in order for that to be done, there has to be a pretext in which the cell phone is the actual focus or the instrument of a crime. And that's one of the things that was missing in this one. Now, you just say, hold on, there was damage to someone's property. So why couldn't the police officer do the search without a warrant? Again, it's going back to when I spoke about exigent circumstances. Because even the video that I did where I spoke about a police officer that ran in on a suspect and the suspect threw a gun under the couch. Well, the gun was suppressed via a MAP hearing simply because the suspect was in custody. And the police officer had one thing to do: secure the scene and then apply for a warrant. Because a lot of times when you're talking about what can be proven and what can't be proven, it's a lot of people tell me, oh, well, it's their word against mine. Well, here's the great part about that. You have an opportunity for cross-examination. And this is where the listening comes in at, understanding the power of words. Because I had an incident in which a police officer spoke about something that he had done, and in the inference of it, he stated, "This is what happened matter-of-factly." I smiled, I stood up, and my simple question was for him to repeat what he had stated matter-of-factly. And he did just that. In fact, it was during my racketeering trials, during the RICO trial. I believe his name was Officer Johnson. He got up and he spoke about how he had followed me and had determined that I lived at one address simply because it was the address that was on my resume. I think you heard me say this before. And on my cross-examination, I asked him, I said, do y'all mind putting that impressive-ass resume up? And they put it back up. And I asked him, I said, the resume is impressive as hell, isn't it? He goes, yes, sir. I said, now, yeah, you do see that there's a cell phone number on there, right? He goes, yes, sir. I said, can your cell phone travel? He said, yes, it can. I said, you stated that you followed me. He said, yes, I did. I said, and you determined that I lived at the address through following me. And he goes, and yes, I did. I said, great. Where was the warrant that you had? Because, again, the great part of that is, where's your proof? You can say whatever it is you like, because it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. And I asked, where's the proof to support your statement? Because this is where people have their affidavits, where everybody wants to tell their opinion. They want to give their side. The simple question to break out all that monotonous BS: where's your truth to support your statement? Where's your proof? And that is one of the most difficult things for people to understand. Just because you're making a statement, just because you're putting forth an affidavit, where's your proof? Because it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. Because I could say a whole lot of stuff, but if there's nothing to support what I'm saying, it doesn't exist. And once we as a people understand that, we're going to be able to move along a lot easier. Even in the facts of, I had a young man tell me a couple of days ago, and it's not an uncommon thing, but he told me, I hate these judges because these judges, they're slanted and they just do this and they just do that. Now, my response to him was simple, because it's one of the things that I give everybody. And it's because I have a lot of judges and police officers and FBI agents and a lot of law enforcement personnel and also legal personnel that follow me, that listen to me. And one of the things that I know for a fact from a judge, if a judge is giving you a hard time, it's because you have missed something. Because the one thing I've told you over and over and over again is the fact that you have to offer people a way out. You have to give them an opportunity to cover their own ass. And if you don't do that, they're going to say things that you need to be able to not only hear, but you need to be able to listen to. Just because they're giving you a hard time, it's not to deter you, it's actually to direct you. I'm going to say that one more time, because a lot of times we miss certain things. It's not to deter you if they're giving you a hard time. It's to direct you, because they want to get out of their way. They want to cover their own ass. Because what most of us don't understand is the fact that the one thing in human nature is self-preservation. You have to offer people an opportunity to get out of your way. Now, I said that to say this, because when I first started, I went out, and I'm not even going to lie. I went out, and everybody that got in my way, they got it. They can get it. I was the can man, because you can get it. I didn't care what it was, who it was, how it was. Man, women, child, grandparents, little baby. I didn't care. You could get it. I made sure you got it. Because the one thing that's more dangerous than a fool with money is a fool with a purpose. That's the biggest thing, because I was a fool with a purpose. And one of the things that I also learned long ago, because my father, while he was living, a lot of the stuff that he did, I didn't understand. Because he was, oh my God, this man got on my nerves from time I woke up to the time I went to sleep. He was the angry little man, and he was constantly giving me things to do, things to write, things to read, things to learn. And I was like, dude, give it a rest. Like, it ain't this much learning in the world. Like, leave it alone. But what I learned to appreciate was the fact that he gave me jewels, but he gave it to me in the only way he knew how to give it to me. He didn't give it to me worrying about my feelings. He didn't give it to me worrying about how I was going to take the next part of it. He gave it to me how he knew to give it to me. It was up to me to accept it how he was giving it to me, and to do with it as he thought I would need to when that time came. And one of the books he gave me was Sun Tzu's Art of War. It is a book I have passed to each one of my children. And the one thing about Sun Tzu, it says, always give an enemy an out. Because you always have to put yourself in a position to not fight. Fighting is not always a place of strength. Because a lot of people worry about battles. Because I even did a video where I told you you're going to lose this particular emotion 99% of the time. And people were like, oh my God, why would you even do that video? Because that's just a battle. But it lays foundation for the war. Because I don't give a shit about the battle. I want the war. That's why I tell people, when you're dealing with this is chess, not checkers. Because checkers, you want to keep as many pieces as you can. In chess, you want to make sure you win. You want to make sure you're the last one standing, period. And that is the only objective. You can do it fast, you can do it slow, but you want it done. And that's what this is. It's understanding you got to give them a way out, because they still got to deal. When I say a statement of piranha don't eat piranha, they still have to go back to that piranha pit. They have to still go commingle with these other. They have to have a reason to say, hey, I wanted to give it to you, but this is what he laid out in front of me. This is what she laid out in front of me. I had no other choice but to, because this is what it is. Because guess what they're not going to do? They're not going to fall on the sword for somebody else. They are absolutely not going to do it. Not going to happen. Because it's all about self-preservation. And just because you have somebody that seems to be giving you resistance, they're looking for a way to get out of it. And I'm going to give you another example of this. Now, like I told you, one of the things about my brother, he was a complete dumbass. And I mean that the exact same way I did that, because one of the things that he understood was the fact that it didn't matter what trouble he got into, I was going to get him out of it. He lived it, believed it, he breathed it, he ate it, he slept it. He did what he did because he knew I was not going to lose. He literally placed his life in my hands. But by doing that, he was living La Vida Loca, because this dude got on my everlasting nerve. But the blind side, or the blessing from that, was the fact that I got plenty of practice just with him. Not including other. I actually got more practice with his stuff than anybody else's. I went deeper with his issues than I did with anybody else. So he actually prepared me for the RICO trial. Unknowingly, unwittingly, but damn sure a willing participant, because he was constantly fucking up. And one issue he had with Gwinnett County. Now, I'm going to give you a quick addressing, because I want to make sure it's understood how I'm saying this. Because even with a lot of the stuff that I say, people come to me, you're anti-cop. Nope, not at all. Love cops. Absolutely love them. And I'm going to say this, I don't think anybody is anti-cop. I know there are millions of people that are anti-bad policing. I know there are millions of people that are anti-gang. I also know there are many people that are anti-patriotism. And here's what I mean by that. When you have a family member, and not all family members are those that are done in blood, but there are family members, friends that you consider family members, that go out and they put on these uniforms and they go defend your rights of freedom, your God-given right, your inalienable rights to freedom. They give everything they have for that purpose. I want to say they give everything they have for that purpose. Some of them lose their lives. You have that sense of loss. And then you have someone that says, you know what? I'm going to take the front line while you take the high road over here. I'm going to take this. And when I did security, we did what they call close proximity protection. And that's what policing is. When you're talking about local policing, you're talking about close proximity. Now, when you're doing close proximity, you're actually right up into the mix. You are the first, last, middle. You are the defense. But when you decide that you are more important than the person that you're protecting, when your rights are more valuable than the rights of the person that you're supposed to be protecting, I know people that have a problem with that. I'm one of those people that have a problem with that. Because I have children that have gone out and given their lives to support my freedoms, my God-given rights, my inalienable rights. I have a problem with someone thinking that they can take those from me. Because how are you going to take something from me you can't give to me? Why would you then swear to God that you're going to make sure they're protected for me and then not uphold that? I have a problem with that. And even in this scenario, I lived in Gwinnett County probably just as long as my brother did. I never had an individual encounter with Gwinnett County Police that was not pleasant. And I've had two. I'm going to say that. Neither time did I get a ticket. One time I should have. In fact, I'm going to even say this. I was so blatant with what I was doing. This is one of the times I should have been snatched out the car and put a knee in my back and a gun in my head. All that extra stuff. This is one of the times it should have happened because what I was doing was blatantly wrong. I'm not even going to lie. We're not even going to sugarcoat. We're not going to pretend. However, this police officer was so courteous. This is one of the most courteous dudes I've ever seen in my life. We actually had a conversation for 10 minutes. Didn't write a ticket. He said, look, could you not do this dumb shit anymore, please? I said, yes, sir. And I rolled on. But now, let's reverse that. Every time my brother got stopped by a Gwinnett County police officer, he went to jail. Don't pass go, don't collect $200. This motherfucker went to jail every time. Not one time, every time. And I was like, how is this absolutely possible? And it's always 10 or 15 cops. It's always a big scene. It's always a whole bunch of extra stuff. But I'm going to give you one situation. And at this time, it was a police officer. His name was Officer Ross. It's easy to remember because got some other things to go along with that. But Officer Ross decided that he was going to exercise his Napoleon complex. And just to give you an idea, you know, I'm 6'4", my brother's 6'2", and Officer Ross was probably 5'2". And he didn't like the fact that my brother actually spoke with the deep Barry White voice and was an asshole. You know, it just is what it is. And he said some things. My brother calls me, so I'm going to go bond him out or whatever and do what we do. So I'm down at the police station having a conversation with Detective Ross, or Officer Ross's police chief. Police chief had very little idea of what I was saying to him. However, the police chief realized I wasn't aggressive. I wasn't mean. I wasn't, I was an asshole, but I wasn't anywhere in the sense of being belligerent or disrespectful. I said a lot of snide comments. I had a lot of sarcasm in when we spoke, but he did not take it in an ill manner. So he calls out Officer Ross and his supervisor, Officer Buglinati. I love Officer Buglinati because Officer Buglinati, he was a smug bastard, and he decided that he wasn't going to let Officer Ross speak to me, that he was going to do all the talking about something that, one, he had no firsthand knowledge of. In the legal field, we call that hearsay. But the thing was, Officer Buglinati was so gung-ho with following through on something that he knew nothing about, had no idea what actually went on, or had any inclination of what was said in the incident. I was privy to only a portion of it because it was done over a cell phone. So my questions were directed at that, just regarding over the cell phone. That was it. But Buglinati decided that he wanted to make these answers, and the answers was pretty much stupid. Now, this long-ass story is getting ready to get cut short. So at the end of this, Buglinati walks out and gives me his information. So now I go and do one of the things that I tell everybody to do, and that's go get a copy of their oath of office. Because the oath of office serves as proof. It's evidence that they have a fiduciary duty to the benefit of you. Now, not individually, because I'll have another bunch of those stupid-ass comments that are laced down in my comment section and all over the internet. But yeah, it's not for an individual person, but because you are part of the public, it's for you. But that is the evidence of that, because you have to show evidence that there is a fiduciary agreement. Now, with that being said, we move on to the second part of this. So while I'm going down to risk management, I speak to a young man. I'm sitting down, and he's kind of huffy, and he's puffy, and he's very upset. And I ask him, I'm looking for a copy of this. And he's getting upset, and he's getting huffy, so I stand up, and I say it again. I said a little bit more boisterous. I'm a little bit closer to him. And then his narrative changed. Not because he was scared, but because he was waiting for me to ask the right question. He was waiting for me to give him an out. And the second I realized that, I sat down and I started smiling. My next question, the exact same question, but I rephrased it. Who's responsible for the oaths of office of officers Buglinati and Officer Ross? I got an answer. Why? Because I allowed him to get out of the way and to cover his own ass. The question that I was asking before, although it's very similar in nature, it didn't allow him to get out the way. It didn't. So at first glance, originally, I was looking at him as a deterrent. I was looking at him as someone that's trying to block me from doing what it is I'm trying to do. When in fact, he was like, please, let me get out your way. Ask better questions. Now, many of you also probably have heard of that book, and it's from Tony Robbins. It's Ask Better Questions. And it's the amazement of things like that. And then when you talk about Tony Robbins, one of his best-selling books of all time is also a book that I gave my youngest son, my 16-year-old. And it's Awakening the Giant Within. When you're understanding the giant within you is the reason you don't have to be small, because you are the one that's in power, which is the reason why every time a police officer encounters you, they must articulate. They must get consent. they have to ask permission from somebody else, not you. They want you to believe that they have an authoritarian position, but they don't have any authority until there's a felony committed. I'm going to say that one more time. They don't have any authority until there's a felony committed. So understanding this, understanding the aspects of how powerful you are, you don't have to let your light be dim just because somebody else is going to be blinded by your light. You shine. You be that giant. You show them who you are. Because even like Ali, even it's at the end of my podcast now. I'm going to show you how great I am. I've even told people I've earned this arrogance. Why? Because I put in the hours to do this. I've actually put my life on the line for this. Now, and I'm going to say this too, because I'm going to take a little bit of the arrogance out of it, because I am humble to a certain extent. But it wasn't that I chose this. This was forced upon me because, one, nobody knew what I knew at the level I knew it. No one wanted to deal with the other piranhas at the level I want to deal with them at. So it was forced upon me because I would not choose anything less. So, yeah, let's take a little bit of the arrogance off. But, yeah, that's what it is. It was forced upon me by choices that I made. But in the same sense of it's understanding that nobody wanted to touch it, because as I got better at it, I became one of the best at it. Now, are there other people that are better than me at this? Right now, I'm Floyd Mayweather at this, so I haven't met. If there's anyone better, I ain't met him yet. So until that happens, I'm the champ until I ain't. Just understand that. I haven't taken any L's yet, but I'm the champ until I'm not. So just understand that. Now, when we're talking about this, and I talked about the automobile exceptions, we talked about exigent circumstances, because that inference of it is the ready mobility of the automobile. And when you're talking about the house or the home or your property or even your cell phone, for the most part, it's mobile to a certain extent. Because, yes, it's mobile because you can carry it everywhere. But the reason it's private is because you can carry it everywhere and it records your locations. And many of us forget to, or don't care to, or don't know how to turn off the location. Hell, even when I turn mine off, it tells me, hey, if you want good signal, you might want to turn that back on. Because it looks for towers. And that's how they track you. Because what tower was he pinging off of? What tower was he close to? How close was he to that tower? But that's because the location is turned on. But when we're talking about these, in a sense, is understanding that when you're going after these cases, when you're being charged with something, you need everything in order to be defensive. You need everything to prepare a defense. And that's why every time they tell you, because they'll say something stupid like, even in something as simple as a trespass, oh, well, we had an encounter or we were called out here, so I need everyone's name because I have to generate a report. Now, here's the funny part about that. You go and ask for that report, there's a problem with it. You go and ask for that report, there's a lie in it. There's something that's untrue. Or they'll tell you, just like in my man Cedric's case, oh, I'm recording too. But when you ask for that recording, all of a sudden it doesn't exist. Now them numbers of 76% of video not coming from police sound really real. Because it's amazing. These are the good guys. Because even William Barr spoke about the Mr. Department of Justice, the head guy there, William Barr, yeah. He spoke about how police officers should be respected more, or some areas are not going to get their police protection. This is the same man that actually lied. He took a report from Mueller and pretty much blocked out everything and then lied about what was in it. And then when they asked him about those lies, he lied again. And then he tells you to respect somebody just because of the uniform, not because of their actions. No, you don't have to do anything respectful, but you should be respected. You can lie, you can rape, you can pillage. We still got to respect you. And to be easy with you, you can kiss my ass with your tongue out, because I'm not going to respect anybody that's not doing anything respectable. Because respect is earned, it's not given. Because just like whenever I used to go out back in the day, you couldn't go to Foot Locker to buy NBA socks. You had to be given them. That's why a lot of times when I see these young guys with these NBA socks on there, I don't respect them. Because it was given to them. They didn't go out and earn shit. But you want me, just because the motherfucker's wearing the NBA socks, to respect him. Nope, that doesn't mean he can hoop. Just because somebody goes out there and plays police officer doesn't mean he knows law. Oops. Because if he don't know law, then how is he enforcing law? Because that's literally in the name, law enforcement. Not code enforcement. Even though there is a code enforcer. It's not statute enforcement. And here's the thing. It's amazing to me when I look at a lot of these people and I listen to these police apologists. Because I even had one jackass last week, and I do mean the same way I just said that, because it irritates me. I did a video, and he stated something that had nothing to do with the video in the comments. My response was literally, that's what you took from the video. The shit, they ain't got nothing to do with the video. That's what you took from it. Now, here's my thing. I don't care about your feelings on it, because feelings don't determine law. That's what I'm giving you. On these podcasts, I give you me. This is me raw. I don't even give you all of me on here. Because like I told you, I don't want to give you the angry black guy. I don't want to give you the guy that just says, you know what, F you, and let me go about my day. But I want to give you something with substance. And a lot of times when I'm giving you me, that's part of the substance. Because do I look at certain situations kind of slanted? Yeah. Are there because of things that have gone on in my life? Yeah. Do I look for excuses for them? No. Because just like I tell everybody, you're not going to need everything that I put out. And if you do, you have it broken down to a sense where you can get an understanding from it, because that's the whole purpose of this. To make sure not only do you hear it, see it, believe it, but you actually can look it up and understand it. Because those that gather an understanding, I don't care about being understood. I want you to have an understanding. Can we get to a point of making sure that what I'm doing benefits you? Because I actually, now I'm going to go off subject for a half a second. Probably like 10 minutes, but I'll be back. I had a conversation with a young man a couple weeks ago, and it blew my mind at his response. Because we were talking about people that were in our lives. And I was telling him about a situation that I was going through, and he asked me, he looked me in the eye, he goes, and in the midst of this, I want you to understand why this young man kind of blew my mind. It's because I'm in my 40s. This dude is in his early 20s. And he looks me in my eye in the midst of all our conversation. He goes, what benefit does that person bring to you? And I said, what do you mean? He said, why would you have someone in your life that doesn't add value to it? I almost fell out my chair because, oh my God. If that is not the greatest question to ask, not only at 40, but that is a wonderful question to ask in your 20s. Why have a person in your life that doesn't benefit you? And understand, benefit can be just motivation. Because I always tell everybody, I want to be the weakest dude in my crew. I don't care what it is. If we lifting weights, I need to be trying to get up to the top of the chain, and I need you to keep pushing. If you benching 500, I need to be benching 419. I need to come. I'm coming for you. I need you to be better than me. Because both of us benching 415. Who pushing who? Because I need you to be better than me. But when he asked me the question, I sat back and I was like, oh my God. What benefit does this person bring to my life? Had to pause for dramatic effect because I want you to think about that. Because there are people in your life right now that bring you no benefit. Now, I also want you to think about something. That question was asked to me, but it was something that I subconsciously had done previously. And a lot of times you hear me speak about my brother. I want y'all to understand something. My case closed October 25th, 2012. Last time I spoke to my brother was November 11th, 2012. The reason being because my brother got out of jail, and the one thing he told me was that I was holding him back because I would not allow him to continue doing fuckery. My response was, I'll see you next lifetime. Because while I love him with everything I have, he brought me no benefit. There was no need for him to be in my life. People don't understand certain things. I don't have a lot of people that are around me. I don't have a lot of friends. And I'm going to say that again. I don't have a lot of friends. The people that I do call friends, they are there. Those are the people that I can pick up the phone right now and say, hey, I need, and they own it. And if they don't have, they'll find a way. And vice versa. They can come to me and say, hey, I need. Dude, I got you. Sis, I got you. Because at the end of the day, not only do they bring me substance, I bring them substance. It may be something as simple as going to school. It may be something simple as finishing school, getting a degree, looking for something better. Something as simple as that. They out here hustling to get better. How can I knock that? How can I not want that? How can I not want that in my life? Now, what I also want you to understand is the fact that, yeah, I got a little long today without giving you some real stuff, but the real stuff coming. I'm actually looking at it. I want you to understand that it's coming. I want you to believe that it's coming. I want you to feel that it's coming. Because what I want you to understand, I want you to know this is me. This is who I am. This is who I'm going to be every week on this podcast. This is a guy that you're going to see in the videos. This is a guy that you're going to hear when I go on tour. These are the guys that's going to be standing there, looking you in your eye. I'm going to be the one that's standing there helping you get to where you got to get to. And just like I talked about, I'm not anti-cop. I'm anti-bad policing. I'm anti a lot of shit. But at the end of the day, I am 100% human. I am 100% in doing what you're supposed to do for the next human being. Now, when we're looking at the purposes of this, is right now, this is my therapy session. You guys are my source of therapy. But it's making sure I have to give you something. Whether you can relate to it or not, whether you like it or not, leave your comments. Let me know some of the issues that you're going through, some of the questions that you have, even some of the snide-ass remarks. Now, keep in mind, you don't have to protect my feelings. Because, as you see, give it to me how you going to get it to me. It's my feelings. Let me do what I want to with them. You ain't got to control them. But just understand, my response is going to be done with love. It may be assholish. It may be. There's a great chance that it will be. But it's done with love. Because, again, I'm going to give you what you give me. And right now, it's about not only building me, it's about building you and making sure we have great foundations on anything that we're doing. That's why I go back over these cases. That's why I try to add to some of the cases that you already have. That's how I also try to make sure you have clarity on the cases that you go to the most. Because not only are they old cases, but there's some new cases. And in the sense of it is understanding application. Because I love the people that come on and they leave me these long-ass paragraphs of trying to show me how smart they are. And, oh, well, this case was about this and this case was about that. Okay, great. What was the decision? How do you apply the decision? And they can't tell me. Or they'll say, oh, you're wrong. All right, well, show me what's right. But then they beg people not to listen. I am not too grown to learn. If I make a mistake, correct me. I don't mind. I really don't. If you can give me direction, that's what we're here for. This is not just about Supreme Decisions. This is about the community of Supreme Decisions. Because I'm still in the trenches just like a lot of you are. I'm not finna walk off anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. I might not post like I'm supposed to, but I'm not going anywhere. Because you guys will get to 100 before the end of the year. You might get 20 on Christmas Day or something, but you're going to get wall 100. And I'm going to make sure of that, because one of the things I enjoy is the fact that I see people posting victories. Even if they're victories in battle, I see people posting victories. I love that. Because that let me know that, you know what, I'm part of the 5%. I'm going to fight back. And sometimes it's not about just fighting back. It's about making sure that because you are able to, you should. If you are wronged, you should fight back. Regardless of what it costs. Because the non-cost is not temporary. It's long-term. There is a boulder effect, so to speak. Because that boulder doesn't get smaller as it rolls downhill. It might take a little bit before it starts gathering any speed, but the second it does, everything that it picked up along the way adds to that speed. It adds to the weight. It adds to all the other things that are going along with it. And understanding that is why I give you this. Because I was actually going to name the podcast at one point Leveling the Playing Field, because that's what this does. Because you know you're not going to get video. You know they're going to lie in police reports. Why? Because it's supported, it's condoned, it's encouraged. Doing the right thing is not proper policing. Making excuses for people that are not doing the right thing is what they consider the blue wall. That's what they show us as the blue wall. And they'd rather support someone they see doing wrong than to actually correct that behavior. And those are the things that people are irritated with. Because while we know it's a small number. Because just to give you an example, you look at someone like the Arizona Police Department in Phoenix. That is a horrible growing situation. You looked at the police chief, she actually stood up at a press conference and said the reason citizens are being shot by police is because it's the citizens' fault, even those that are unarmed, even those that are children, even those that are shot in the back. It's the citizens' fault. But then when the new mayor came in and ignored the police unions and demanded the firing of multiple officers, Now all of a sudden, the same police chief that stated that it was the citizens' fault these officers was doing this dumb shit, now she wants credit for doing what she should have done in the first beginning. And now all of a sudden, she's not condoning their actions. But then, these are the people that William Barr wants us to respect. A person that just told me they're not going to accept responsibility for shit, and it's my fault that they can't do their job properly. Because I think I'm going to do that one day. I think I'm going to go to McDonald's, and I'm going to order me a Big Mac meal and some fries, and then I'm going to critique the fry guy. And then when the dude say, hey, all I did was push a button, I'm going to talk about how bad that button is. But then I'm going to blame everybody at McDonald's for the way my fries turn out. Because everybody at McDonald's wants respect, even though nobody's doing their job properly. It's the fry guy's fault. Because I don't want to place blame where it should be at. Now, when we're going through this, the whole point is substance. And I'm hoping I'm giving you that. I've given you a lot of yap today. I've gone on a little rant, but I'm back. I had to leave you for a second, but I'm back. And just like I talked about, we talked about the exigent circumstances. We're talking about Collins v. Virginia. And we spoke about the officer going under a tarp, doing the investigation, but did not follow not only police procedures, did not follow the law because there was no exigent circumstances. And just like I spoke about in the Daniel Ross video, exigent circumstances were absent once he took Daniel Ross from outside the conveyance to the rear. So now he secures the scene. If he does not get consent, he applies for a warrant because while the smell of marijuana is in a sense probable cause for a search, it is not probable cause for exigent circumstances. I'm going to say that one more time. While the smell of marijuana is probable cause for a search, it's not probable cause for exigent circumstances. So he would either need a warrant or consent. In Daniel Ross's case, he was given consent. Now, in Collins v. Virginia, Officer Collins did not have consent, nor did he have a warrant. And then we talked about the property aspect of it. And we go deeper in that with California v. Carney. And the rationales apply only to automobiles and not houses, and therefore supported their different treatment as constitutional matter. Officers may search an automobile without a warrant as long as they have probable cause. And the area immediately surrounding and associated with the house is considered part of the house itself for Fourth Amendment purposes. Now, just like I spoke about the exigent circumstances in Daniel Ross's case, the exigent circumstances, the rule is arm's length, where he could destroy evidence. Well, if the motorcycle or whatever, the car was covered and nobody was in the vicinity, there is no potential of destroying evidence. Again, securing the scene and applying for the warrant. Why? Because you have an idea. You were given a tip because of whatever. Now, just because they apply for the warrant does not mean the judge will sign off on it, because again, when the judge signs off on it, they're taking responsibility for the word of that officer. Because even the officer, if they go out and they apply for a warrant that is not just, if the probable cause is not there, and they get a judge to sign off on it, they are then not obligated to execute it. They do not have to go forth with a warrant that is not signed off on. Why? Because they are still liable for whatever happens once they do their quote-unquote job. And even in Florida v. Jardines, when an officer physically intrudes on the cartilage to gather evidence, the Fourth Amendment search has occurred and is presumptively unreasonable absent a warrant. Florida v. Jardines, Jardines. Understanding, absent exigent circumstances, absent consent, a warrant is needed for any search. If it's an automobile, they must secure the scene. If it's a home, just like if somebody runs into their home, there needs to be exigent circumstances. Like there was a gun on their person to which they did not want hostages to be taken. That would work as an exigent circumstance because they're putting others in danger. Just like Tennessee v. Gardner. You cannot shoot a fleeing suspect that's in an automobile unless they're using the automobile itself as a weapon against either the police or others. Because the one thing, I wish I had Denzel right here, because right now, the whole context is the first duty for an officer is preservation of life. But it's not preservation of their life. It's preservation of the life that they're protecting. Their life is secondary to the person, the people, the public that they're protecting. Just keep that in mind. That is something they swore to. That is part of their duty. The problem is that is not part of their training. I'm going to say that one more time. That is part of their duty, but it is not part of their training because they are thinking and they are trained that they are authoritarians when they are not. What authoritarian needs consent to do anything? What authoritarian needs to articulate anything first before they can do anything? Just understand those. Because I don't even give a shit if you don't like me. You don't even like the way I look. You don't like how tall I am. You don't even like the fact that I'm fat. Guess what? Doesn't change the law. I even had a police officer ask me in Alabama a couple of days ago. He said, "Oh, you must be a sovereign citizen." I just looked at him and smiled. I said, okay. I said, let's say for shits and giggles. Shits and giggles that I am. What law does that change? And he looked at me. Just what law does it change? What part of that changes your duty? Whatever the hell it is. Let's say I'm a backflipping gymnast. Does it change the law that you're applying? And he looks at me. He goes, no. I said, then why ask the question? His response was, that's what we're trained to do when somebody gives us resistance. And I just laughed. I said, here's the funny part. I was asking you what a bathroom was. I wasn't trying to give you resistance. No, I'm bullshit. But no, I said something else. But I was like, yeah, it was no resistance. I asked you a question because you were talking about your job. But at the end of the day, what does it matter that I am if you're applying a law? Because whether I am or not, it doesn't change the law. Whether you like me or not, it doesn't change the law. It's written in these books for a reason. Because just like I tell people, you can go to any law library. You can go to any university in the U.S. You can go and verify the shit that I'm saying. So it doesn't matter if I killed a block of people. It doesn't change what I just said. It doesn't matter what I have done, who I am as a person, and it doesn't matter what size I am, the color of my skin, the tone of my voice, the non-existence of my hair. None of that matters because it doesn't change the law. And the only thing I'm giving you is the law. And I'll add a little seasoning every now and then because, I got to add in a little salt and pepper because I got to give you a little flavor. I like flavor in the stuff I'm giving you. So, yeah, I'm giving you grits, but it's going to have some salt and pepper in them grits. I ain't gonna add the cheese, though, but I'm going to give you a little, that's for my southern people. You know how we do. But, again, it doesn't change what the law is. Because unless they have consent or a warrant, which in essence is permission from a judge to do what they're trying to do, it's illegal. Just understand that. That is the purpose of these separate hearings. That is the purpose of them fighting back. Because even in Riley v. California, an officer must have a lawful right to access to any contraband he discovers in plain view in order to seize it without a warrant. Now, this is part of the exigent circumstances. Plain view is one of the things that I spoke about again in the Daniel Ross video, where I stated that Daniel Ross, generally, when you're asked to get out of your vehicle, you see this time and time again. The one thing they will not do, they, in this case, being police officers, will not close the door behind you. Why? Because they want to use the plain view context of going into your conveyance without a search warrant. This is one of the things because, again, if they have to get a search warrant, that means they have to have probable cause. And you remember I told you, a traffic infraction is not probable cause for anything other than a stop. And then they have officer discretion to write you a ticket. Why? Because the citation itself is unlawful. Again, not my words. I've shown you this. The citation itself, that's why they have a choice. Because it's either a willful act or they're ignorant. There is no in between. You either know you're doing it or you don't know you're doing it. But if you do it, it's wrong. Doesn't change the law. And again, doesn't matter who I am. Doesn't matter what I've ever done in life. It's something that can be verified. And as one of these jackasses said the other day, with that sovereign citizen BS. And then I had to remind them, jackass, what does that mean considering I won a RICO case? And I've never lost any other case. So if it's BS, why are they teaching it at Harvard? If it's BS, why are they teaching it at Princeton? If it's sovereign citizen anything, why are they teaching it in universities? Why do they have it on the bar exam? Because if you know better, you do better. Because it makes you better. You understand what I'm saying? That's why we got to get around here. But again, exigent circumstances. Absent that, they need consent or they need a warrant. Horton v. California, an officer must have a lawful right to access in order to arrest a person in his home. Payton v. New York, an officer must have a lawful right to access to a vehicle in order to search it pursuant to an automobile exception. Again, probable cause has got to come from somewhere. Probable cause only comes from a crime, which is damage to a person, damage to property, or them witnessing a felony, which is excessive damage to person, excessive damage to property, which is why shoplifting in most cases is a civil offense. Larceny is a civil offense. But what they start doing is lowering the levels for quote-unquote felonies. Because even in Georgia, they've actually lowered it all the way down to $100. And in some cases, they'll ask the store manager, not the owner, but the manager, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Now, the problem with that is they're not the store owner. But I'm gonna give you the loophole a lot of these companies are doing now, because only the owner can give you discretion of what they can quote unquote do and not do. But I'll get into that later, because that's what I do. I got to give it to you a little bit at a time, even if it's at this sense an hour. But understanding this, you have to have consent or permission, because just being there is not probable cause. And yes, in this case, there was damage to property, because the Fourth Amendment provides in a relevant part that the right of the people to be secure in their homes, persons, papers, and effect against unreasonable search and seizures shall not be voided or violated. Can't read, apparently. But one of the things that was separated in a 1976 case was automobiles, unlike homes, are subjected to pervasive and continual governmental regulations and controls, including a periodic inspection and licensing requirement. Now, I'll get into that deeper, because what you're talking about in this sense is pretty much being mobile, being able to move, which is why you have mobile homes, and they are labeled under a different criteria than a home that's on a slab or what they would call an elevated floor. And an everyday occurrence, police stop and examine vehicles when license plates or inspection stickers have expired, or in other violations such as exhaust fumes or excessive noise are noted, if headlights or other safety equipment are not in proper working order. Now, notice what was just said. I'm going to read that last part. Or if headlights or other safety equipment are not in proper working order. Why? Because the context of a traffic infraction is not law. Statutes, codes, and ordinances are not law. They're safety issues. And I've been saying that for 2 years. I've been saying it for the better part of the 2. But now you're actually reading it. Because now, does it say that verbatim? No. But what did it call? Everything that you just talked about. Because Delaware v. Price says, Delaware v. Price. Why did I say Price? Delaware v. Price states that you can't stop me just to inspect my license and registration. Even though South Dakota versus v. Overman states that it's subjected to governmental licensing and regulations. Now, even the inspections itself, there has to be a purpose behind it. Because again, understanding what these words mean, because the words have power. The listening to this allows you to step into that power. It allows you to, what was I saying? You gotta exercise. It allows you to flex. You know, I can flex, but, you know, I still got a stomach, so we got to worry about that. Just look at the arms. You don't look everywhere else. But it allows you to flex. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. And just like it stated before, when these justifications for the automobile exception come into play, and that's in Caddy v. Dombrowski, and it's a 1973 case. Basically, when exigent circumstances exist, I went through all of them. It's like a 20-minute video. And officers may search an automobile without having obtained a warrant so long as they have probable cause to do so. Why? Because it has to be connected to a crime. Because even when we talked about asset forfeiture, the only way they can take your assets is if that asset was part of the crime. So if you are in a car accident, if you hit and run in a vehicle, they can take the car. They can take the conveyance. They can take your truck. They can take that. Why? Because that is part of damaging someone else's property. That is evidence. Then at the end of that, they can sell that off. Why? Because it's evidence. It is, you used a weapon in some form. It is evidence. Now, understanding that, going back to Florida v. Jardines, at the amendment's very core stands the right of a man to retreat into his home and there be free from unreasonable government intrusion. This is what I talked about. Even going into someone's home or into your own home, they need a warrant even to come in unless you give them consent. Why? Because they are working for your benefit. Their fiduciary duty is to you, which is why Florida v. Roya, you don't have to speak to them just because they're hollering out to you. Why? Because you have the right to remain silent. Because that's in the document they said that they would stand and uphold and defend. Again, see how all that ties together? That's just some beautiful stuff. And they don't like me because I can damn read. I can apply. I can comprehend. But see, it's a problem if you're able to do that. Just understand that. It's a problem if you're able to read, apply, and comprehend the things that they're supposed to do. It's a problem if you have enough time, sense, and education to know what they're supposed to do. That's a problem. But if you don't know any better, that's your fault because you should know. What? How that? Yeah, I was going to pause for dramatic effect, but saying it out loud, it just seems stupid. I just want to say that. The saying it out loud, it actually sounded stupid because whenever I first thought about it, it sounded better in my head. I'm not even going to lie to you. It rolled in my head, and I was like, yeah. And you know how when you do something, you be like, yeah, that's real tight. Yeah, I like that. And then you hear it, you be like, that sounded dumb as hell. And that's what that was. You're a problem if you learn something, you apply what you learn, and you're able to comprehend how it works. That's a problem. But if you don't know any of that and something bad happens to you, you should have known better. What? Yeah, I'll deal with that later because that amazing. I guess that's that sovereign citizen shit. Ain't that what the dude said? That's sovereign citizen BS? Okay. I actually think that is. I guess that's what that is because I have no clue. That doesn't even make sense to me. Because that's like me sending my child off to school. My child goes in to learn something. He learns something, and then I have a problem with what he learns because he's applying what he's learned. And then I take him out of school, and then when he gets jammed up because he can't get a job or he can't finish this and he can't finish that, and then say, well, you should have went to school. What? Because that's literally what I'm just saying. And it's amazing to me. And it's almost like the programming I guess that's the glitch in the Matrix. I don't know if you watched the Matrix. I'm a Matrix fan, but there was always a glitch. You had to figure out, we're seeing it twice. The glitch in the Matrix. I think that's what the glitch is. Because if you learn something, you apply it, and you understand what to do. But if you don't do it, it's still bad. But it's only bad for you, not bad for them. What? That's the glitch. So, yeah. So now when somebody asks you about the glitch in the Matrix, you know what the glitch is. Now we're going to go on because, yeah, I've taken up a lot of this time today. But that actually tripped me out because that actually threw me because it sounded better. I actually have that shit written down. I should have recorded that. That's what I should have recorded so y'all can see that. Because I actually have that written down, and I got, that's tight. No, that's stupid. That is the stupidest thing when you say it out loud. Because I might have to do these shows beforehand because that one was crazy. That honestly that befuddles me. Anyway, Oliver v. United States. Because we learned in Florida v. Jardine. At the amendment's very core stands the right of a man to retreat into his own home and there be free from unreasonable governmental intrusions. Oliver v. U.S., 1984 case. The protection afforded the curtilage is essentially a protection of families and personal privacy in an area intimately linked to the home, both physically and psychologically, where privacy expectations are most heightened. And it goes on to California v. CIRAOLO. And it's a 1986 case. When law enforcement officers physically intrude on a curtilage to gather evidence, a search within the meaning of the Fourth Amendment has occurred. So understanding, if they're coming on your property, just like the young man in Texas, the officer walked up on this guy's property, immediately went to putting this man in handcuffs. That's a Fourth Amendment seizure. Now, here's what was crazy about that. His police chief came out in his defense. But then they released a second body cam because the camera from the house, or the young lady, his wife, or whoever was recording it, was stating, hold on, that guy never lived in that place that you're talking about. He's never gone to that place that you're talking about. There was a second officer that pulled up probably 5 minutes into the stop or the exchange. And he turns to him, he goes, LT, that's not the right guy. He says that. It's on his body cam. It was on the one that the police chief who was defending the LT, he was defending him. Oh, what he did was right because of this, that, and the third. Young man gets out the car and says, hey, LT, that's not the right guy. That's not even the right address. So not only did he grab the wrong person, and this younger officer proceeded to correct him because not only was it the wrong person, he was at the wrong place. Wrong person, wrong place. The LT insisted and persisted to take this man in. He insisted that this man was someone else, even though he was the wrong person, the wrong location. He insisted that this guy was it, even after being told that was the wrong guy. Now, with that being said, the officer was then sued in his personal capacity, not in his official capacity. He was sued in his personal capacity. And they sued the state. The reason the state cut the check on this one was because the dumbass police chief came out and defended him. I'm going to say that one more time. The reason the state cut the check was because the dumbass police chief came out and defended the wrongful actions of their subordinates. I think I actually had a conversation where I spoke about in the video where the supervisors can be sued for the actions of their subordinates, especially if they support them. Yeah, you might have to go watch that one. But it's understanding at the end of the day, knowing the difference in what everything is, how everything is, and where everything is. What they're supposed to do, how they're supposed to do it, when they're supposed to do it. Those are the pretexts. Those are the absolutes of what I'm giving you. Because I'm not just trying to say a whole bunch of stuff to sound good. Because I don't like my voice because I got to edit this crap. I don't even like being on video. I don't like taking pictures. I don't like doing a lot of stuff that I'm doing right now. So, it is what it is. Because I love the people, well, you just doing it for attention. No, I'm doing it for a check. I'm doing it for the fact that this is something that people need. Why? Because there is entirely too much misinformation. There's too much going out where you see people standing in a courtroom and they're hollering and they're screaming and people, oh yeah, he told that judge or she told that judge. If you are at the context of hollering and screaming and doing all these other antics, you have missed something. You are not following procedure. You are the one that's not allowing them to get out of your way. Because I'm going to give you a quick story, and I'm going to start wrapping up today. Because what we have to understand is there was an officer, Aaron Dean, who shot a young lady in Dallas-Fort Worth through her window without making an announcement that he was there. He wasn't called out for an emergency. He was called there to do a welfare check. this officer and another one, at least one more, because it was 2 squad cars that went to the property, parked down the street, did not turn on a siren, did not announce that they were there. They searched the property, noticed the front door was open as well as the back door was open. Not one time did they make an announcement. And he fired through a window. The reason this itself is one of the most horrendous things to do, one of the greatest acts of cowardice, is because he didn't tell her that he was there. But he gave her 0.3 of a second to respond in her home. The place that she's growing up, she's working for, that she's, lawfully obligated to protect. That's hers. She should be able to do what she wants in her house. Aaron Dean took that away from her without doing his job properly. And then he made an excuse that there was a gun in the room. Okay, what that got to do with you not turning on a siren? What does that have to do with you not following? I guess that's that sovereign citizen bullshit, right? Because no matter what was done, no matter what Aaron Dean said, it didn't change the law. Didn't change his procedures. Didn't change the fact that Ms. Williams was supposed to be secure in her papers, her persons, and her home. But there are times that we're going to have where we're confronted with these stupid situations. Because even in Horton v. California, even where the object is contraband, this court has repeatedly stated and enforced the basic rule that the police may not enter and make a warrantless seizure. They also cannot use deadly force for someone that is not committing, has not committed, and will not be committing a crime. Because here in Texas, we have a form of the stand your ground law, which is the castle doctrine. This was something that Amber Geiger tried to use, which was stupid because it wasn't her castle. Well, the fact that Athena had a gun in her castle, the officer did not have a lawful reason to be there. He did not have a lawful reason to discharge his weapon. He also didn't have a lawful reason to have his weapon in his hand because he was doing a welfare check. He was called out there for a non-emergency situation. The person actually called, which was the neighbor, actually called a non-emergency line. Didn't call 911, called a non-emergency line. So everything that was done had nothing to do with law. So understanding this, these little idiosyncrasies, these are the things that we need to know. These are things that we need to learn. These are things that we need to apply. This is the substance that I need to give you. This is where we all need to be at. This is where our focus needs to stay and continue to grow from. Because whether we like it or not, we're in an age where the mentality is feelings first. But with me, I'm from the age of, you got to show me. I don't care about your feelings. I'm Mr. Fuck your feelings. Do what you need to do. Because at the end of the day is, I'd rather you be honest and an asshole and give me truth. Give me something that I can sit with than to be polite and fake. That's why I tell people, yes, leave the snide comments. You're going to get the same thing back, but leave a comment. Because if it's on your mind, we need to have a conversation about it because we're grown enough to do that. Or at least one of us is. Because every conversation I'm involved in, there's at least one intelligent person. You can pretend to be the other one if you're not it. So I got it. I got it. There's at least one intelligent person in the conversation that I'm having. So even in your comments, I don't care what you put. I really don't. But I do want them. I do want your questions. I do want your show ideas. I do want what you're looking at. I want to walk into your world. Give me a little bit of you. That's what I want. That's what I'm asking for. That's the thing that I need the most. Because I want to continue being a benefit to you. But even when you're following me, I need you to be a benefit to me. And that benefits me. That allows me to be greater than what I am. Because I can't show you how great I am if I don't know how great you are. I can't be as great as I need to be if you're not pushing me to be there. And with that being said, I love you guys. I appreciate you listening. Thank you for the feature. And thank you guys for the donations, all the gifts. You know, still hitting me with the Zelle, Apple Pay, the Venmo, my favorite Cash App, Google Wallet or Google Pay. I'm trying to work on Samsung Pay. I think that's pretty much the same thing as Google Pay. But understanding Apple Pay is also a good spot. But the donations are great, but the substance is better. Because that's what allows us to grow. Don't forget to download this episode. Leave a comment. Tell me what you're thinking. I also want you guys to go out and share this on your social media. Because one of the things that I'm planning on doing as I go on tour in 2020 is I'm going to have you guys, not just me, I'm going to have you guys stream my live events to your social media platforms. I don't care if it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, hopscotch, whatever. Because this is not a message that needs to be bottled up. This is not something where you're going to get misinformation. This is actually something that got some substance that can stick to your ribs. This is what the masses need. Because just like I said, I have a lot of law enforcement that follows me. I have a lot of law enforcement that ask questions. Because a lot of times their training is contradictory to the things that I'm saying. Doesn't mean I'm wrong. Doesn't mean their training is wrong. It's just you don't know until you don't. Hell, you don't know what you don't know. And a lot of them didn't know that they didn't know. And they're not assholes. They're respectful. And just remember, if you're in a situation where the judge is kind of slanted against you, or if somebody that you're getting information is slanted against you, ask better questions. Awaken your giant from within. Because once you get that contract, you're at war. Exercise the art of war. I love you guys. See you next week.
The shaking colossus.
I'm going to show you how great I am.